What is going on, wrestling fans? Welcome to the Tapped In Indie Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Heath Mulligan, joined by the man who was everywhere this weekend. That is Nick McDaniel. Nick, how are you doing today?
I'm exhausted. I've still not recovered, dude. It was a long weekend. 3 shows back to back. And listen, don't feel sorry for me because there were a lot of guys who worked a lot of shows. I was talking to a wrestler who was 3 shows, like 5 matches. Like it was a crazy, weekend for a lot of us. And but it was long too. It was just a long weekend.
We often talk about, the PWI 500 just came out, and I was talking to somebody about, well, how many matches do you have to have in a year to qualify for that? And then we talk about, how many matches do you need to qualify for the Indy Awards? And I would say the standard should be, if you did not work more shows than Nick went to, you should not be eligible for any sort of wrestling award because you're out at shows every weekend. So wrestlers, that should be your goal. You need to be at more shows than Nick. And fans, if you want to know where we're going to be, if you want to get access to the calendar, if you want to see all that stuff, you got to go to patreon.com/tappedoutpod. You can get all the behind the scenes stuff. You get all the shows early. Also, you can become a member on YouTube. Same deal either way. But if you're watching YouTube, hey, we need you to subscribe. We need you to hit that like button. You need to spend a day, go back on all the videos, hit the like button, but more importantly, hit that bell to get all the notifications on there. We want to take a moment and send a shout out to Dusty Rhodes Foundation. This is one of the big reasons Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling came back to support this great charity. And a lot of people remember Dusty Rhodes was like a fantastic athlete. Like anybody you talk to, just such a great athlete. So the Dusty Rhodes Foundation, DustyRhodesFoundation.org, raises money to support youth athletics in various communities. And so Turnbuckle's given so much money to the foundation this year. It's been great. And we just want to give them a shout out. You should check them out too. Get some merch and support the cause. Nick, before we get into all the indie talk, AEW, huge show coming up this Wednesday on Dynamite. They've got the big Grand Slam, but ticket sales not a Grand Slam on this one.
Yeah, look, I mean, they've had, this is the good and the bad for them, right? So we talked a little bit on the Tapped Out show Myron and I did about the TV deal that they broke that news. But it kind of leads you into also the question of the business part that how they're handling, what's going on there. And to see a show like Grand Slam a couple years ago was like 20,000 people. Let's kind of shrink it down so it's a little more fair. Year over year, last year was like 11,000. Now they're hoping to get 5. They were under 5 as of recording when I looked at WrestleTix, what they were sitting at. But I think even maxed out, it's only set up at like 57 or 50. It's not set up for much more.
Right.
It's from a business perspective, it's kind of alarming, but it's tough to have that argument when somebody goes, yeah, but they just signed a $170 million TV deal. And I'm like, some things aren't exactly created equal. Like they don't, I don't think that's, by the way, I'm going to ask you this because I don't think we haven't even prefaced this. The TV deal, it's a 3-year deal. It's a 4-year deal, 3-year guaranteed. So people get mad when I call it's a 3-year deal. Like they have a 3-year deal with an option for 4. But, Bischoff breaks up a great point. Like a lot of television shows, they still have benchmarks they have to hit to keep the 3-year contract. Like if you're not hitting these benchmarks, they can go, hey, we're out.
Right.
So the concern is with the attendance where it's at, does that start to eventually drag? By the way, I know some of the shows did up high. Like past week, Rampage was up. So good, the TV deal just in general, it's a mess. I wanted to ask your take because I know we don't typically talk a ton about it. Are they going to stream on Max? That's kind of a hint that's come out. Because then what's that going to do to ratings, right? Like, does that hurt the ratings? But they'll have the statistics, right? Max will see they'll see the numbers. But there's talks of Rampage may go away. That
Yes,
it'll just be the two shows. That. Yeah. And then does Fox Sports 1 pick up the third show? And what does that show look like? And that, at least it's more income. If they can sell that show, it's more income, right?
If you are a national TV show in the 21st century, to be a national, if you're going to be a national wrestling show, you are basically creating a television show.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the thing with wrestling, is it is a television show. And so they care about the ratings. They care about this TV deal. I don't know if ticket sales going down is going to affect the ratings. I do know if they go on Max, I will 100%, don't think twice about it, subscribe to HBO Max or whatever they call it now. I will 100% do that. I'll pay whatever, $15, $16 a month for that to get all the AEW, pay-per-views and shows like that. And then if they put the whole library on there, that's, to me as an AEW fan, that's a no-brainer. Here's a question, AEW, like I said, it's a TV show. If an independent promotion went from 100 tickets to 50 tickets or 400 tickets to 200 tickets, we would be sounding the alarm on that, because the independent promotion is so, it's all about ticket sales.
Correct.
But it's kind of weird because this is not a bad card for Grand Slam.
No.
John Moxley and Darby Allin, I know they've wrestled a couple of times, but high stakes here. It's a number one contenders match. The match I want to see on this card, Young Bucks versus Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. Are you kidding me? I don't know if the Bucks have wrestled against Ospreay yet. That's you're talking about some of the greatest high flyers. When I think about Nick Jackson and Will Ospreay and what they might be able to do in that ring, the athleticism, just off the charts.
I think Kyle Fletcher should be. I think he's way overlooked a lot. We saw him in person wrestle Will Ospreay here in Duluth, but yeah, and I was like blown away. And ever since then, I'm like, everybody's like, well, blah blah blah. I'm like, he's not Will Ospreay because he's not pushed like Will Ospreay. That's the difference.
Yeah, he definitely. I think in a few years,
yeah,
Will Fletcher can definitely get to that level. Just the fact that Will Ospreay is wrestling in the United States all the time just is still mind-blowing to me. I remember when he signed his New Japan contract, watched the little documentary. That was a really cool thing. Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness, we were talking about this before we hit record. That's a match we've seen. They had great matches. That is clearly a match Tony Khan wanted to see.
Yep.
And he is making sure that we get it.
Yeah, it's one you pointed out. Like, I'm not saying the match isn't going to be. It could be outstanding, but I don't think anybody was banging their drum to see it. Like you brought up off air, we were talking like nobody was sitting around going like, "Oh, we got to have it. We got to have it." Why? Well, we didn't think Nigel wrestled anymore.
Right.
And it's funny, like Eric Bischoff, I don't want to ask you this is a question that you can answer for me. Eric Bischoff is like, I don't want to see Nigel McGuinness in the ring. And everybody's like, wait, what? He goes, the difference is he is Eric Bischoff's favorite, like commentary on like the, what he does. And he goes, I don't want to lose that to get him in the ring. Like, does that make, it's like, that's the trade-off he doesn't want. So he was like, if I was starting a company today, Nigel's probably the first phone call I'm making for commentary.
I think this is one of those cases Nigel McGuinness was about to sign with WWE, had hepatitis, and career ended, or so we thought. I think Tony Khan has kind of taken it upon himself to right some wrestling wrongs. That you look at the run that Sting had, and I think that was all about trying to kind of get the taste of his WWE run out of our mouths, or the finish he didn't even get with WCW. I feel like Tony Khan is trying to and with Nigel McGuinness giving him, he didn't get to go out the way he wanted. So now giving him that opportunity to wrestle his greatest opponent ever and have some good matches. One other quick AEW note, real quick. We've been following the Blackpool Combat Club, and there's a trios match. Pac, Wheeler Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli. I don't even know that they've been in the same room since the Combat Club turned on Daniel Bryan. They're wrestling. They're defending against Private Party and a mystery partner. Who could that mystery partner be to be a surprise and maybe take the titles off the Blackpool Combat Club?
That's the thing, man. There's pretty much everybody. And I know they're not, so relax. But when I always say but isn't kind of at this point everybody's kind of signed? I mean, there's not anybody that's been released. There's not, So who would it be? You know what it's probably going to be? It's going to be the best wrestler the masses haven't heard of. Independent wrestler, like the best independent wrestler that the masses haven't heard of. That's who it'll probably be, and it'll be shocked that 900 million people don't know who he is.
For a very split second, because I forgot that Danielson was wrestling McGuinness, I thought, man, what if Danielson is their surprise partner just to get his hands on the Combat Club? I think you're right. I think, who could it be? It's got to be somebody that's compelling, or let me say that again. To me, it would need to be somebody that it's compelling within the storyline, but Tony Khan may have a totally different viewpoint.
Here's off the wall. This is how insane the booking can be sometimes. It's probably Ricochet. Just to have him on the card. I don't know if he's I haven't seen the other matches. I don't know but literally it's probably Ricochet just to have him on the card. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. No,
definitely could be. And Ricochet and Private Party, that's sign me up. I definitely want to see that. So that's our thoughts on AEW this week. Again, they've got some big shows coming up. Dynamite and Collision are going to be huge this week. Let's move on to our new segment that we've been running. It's This or That with this week's guest, Adam Priest.
Hey everybody, we're live here at Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling. It's Heath Mulligan from the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network, and I am joined here by Adam Priest, one of the top independent wrestlers in the country. Adam, how you doing?
I appreciate that. I'm doing pretty good. The weather's changing down here, and I'm not real happy about it, but it is football season. We all know what that means. It's time for the Tide to roll.
Hey, how you feeling about Nick Saban or the new coach?
Saban, of course, but I think we're going to be okay.
Well, let's jump into This or That. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
A night owl.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Singing or dancing?
Oh, singing.
Texting or calling?
Depends who it is, but we'll go call.
Apple or Android?
Oh, Apple.
Sneakers or sandals?
Sneakers.
Action movies or comedies?
Oh, comedy.
What's your top comedy? What's your go-to?
I don't want to slow it down here. Let me think.
No, you're good. You're good. I mean, Step Brothers, Adam Sandler.
So obviously the Step Brothers. I love Life, the movie Life.
Oh yeah.
What else? We'll go like Step Brothers, Will Ferrell, Life, anything, Bad Boys, like any funny action stuff like that.
I got you. Skydive or bungee jump?
Oh God, neither. I'm a neither.
Train or plane?
Plane.
Play sports or watch sports?
Watch now.
Would you rather live in space or under the sea?
Oh, that's a terrible one. In space.
PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Amusement park or water park?
Water park.
He is Adam Priest. Adam, tell everybody where they can follow you on social media.
Everything Adam_Priest_. You can catch me at Turnbuckle Wrestling. Here I'm gonna be a normal guy here. Not a normal. What's the word am I looking for? I'll be here continuously from now on.
A regular.
I'm an idiot. You can see me at Turnbuckle Wrestling, DPW Wrestling, Action Wrestling in Georgia, West Coast, East Coast, everywhere. I'm trying to make a name for myself. So, see you then.
And he's trying to make a name for himself, and so are we. The Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network. This has been Heath Mulligan. This has been This or That. And we'll see you at the matches.
Roll Tide.
Hey, thanks to Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, and let's just take a few minutes and take turns putting Adam Priest over.
Dude is great. I mean, like you said, super. Look, I had somebody who in the business that I really respect their opinion, whatever, and they were the ones who first are like, no, you got to see him wrestle. Like, you got to see him work. And I started watching him, and he's just a buzzsaw in the ring. Just that guy, like, he is very, here's the thing. I think he is very blessed to wrestle in this time when, like, his style is way more appreciated than it was 20 years ago. But I absolutely cannot put him over enough. I think he's absolute beast. And, the running joke I always say is I always say he's Conrad Thompson's favorite indie wrestler.
Right.
And that's kind of but that's anyway. But yeah, I can't put him over enough, and we appreciate him taking the time out to participate.
Yeah, he was great. He not to kill his gimmick or whatever. He definitely, his wrestling persona puts off that vibe. Do not talk to me. Do not look at me. And was just so super nice. And I would just put a call out to any promoter in the country. Please give me Adam Priest versus John Davis. Please give me that match. Viral. That's money. Bring in Adam Priest. Let him challenge John Davis for that viral pro title. It was a busy weekend. Let's step right into this week's Indy Rewind. There were a lot of shows. As Nick said, he did the Friday, Saturday, Sunday loop. Friday night, Nick, you found yourself in Buford, Georgia there at the Tanneroo Row Ale House, which you might start getting your mail there. You're there so often. Disruptor Pro, how was the crowd? How was the show there Friday night?
Look, I love their shows. Look, let's get – I don't often, because people are like, oh, you're not – and this isn't really negative. If you liked wrestling, you got a lot of it. On Friday, you got a whole lot of it. 10 matches. I mean, it was a marathon show. Here's the thing, though. It was long, but, like, it was really good. Like, the matches were really, really good. The highlight of the show, the main event, the legends, Terry Lawler, Sweet Daddy, and Clint Eller, were kind of paying back Exotic Youth for what they did at the show prior, where they basically jumped on Terry just because he was presenting the trophy to the Slime season. So Randy Wentworth, he was the chosen partner, Exotic Youth, to face the legends. And it was about as, this is a compliment, by the way, it was about as a Memphis wrestling of a match of it as that you were ever going to see one. Kind of went in there, had all those spots, then they brawled all over the building, made their way back to the ring. And of course, the legends they they pick up the W there. I just can't put it over enough. It was about as entertaining as it comes. Like, that's kind of what that match was. Like, sometimes you cleanse your palate of wrestling with a good old Southern wrestling match, and that's kind of what they gave you to end that show.
Right. this show had a little bit of everything because you had the good old Southern wrestling. Then you had Vari Morales defending the Disruptor Championship against CP Suave. And I am hoping, praying somebody film this match and it's going to be available to watch somewhere at some point.
Man, I'm with you. I hope so. Vari continues to deliver, right? Like week after week after we see him, no matter where we see him. The question became, I was asking somebody, can Vari have a bad match? I don't think so. I really don't. But then to get in there with a dance partner like CB Suave, who, by the way, had this match, and I'm not going to spoil it. I don't even like to say that. Can I say this, what I told you off of the air about his opponent, what he said? Like, okay, yeah, I can. I his opponent even came up to me on another show and was telling me how good he was. Like, that's, you know, that's a huge compliment when the guy that you're in the ring working with comes over and was like, he is so good.
Yeah.
You know, so if you've got that and then you've got Vari Morales in the same ring, how do you think that went? It's about as well as you expected, right? Because it was outstanding.
Two guys who really get it, and really, two guys who really knew kind of maybe their role on this card. Because you like you said, you had that Memphis style match. You had Dave Stage making his debut as the Law, taking on Matt Sales, which is a totally different kind of match.
That was, listen, and people can say like the wrestling is good, but it was a comedy match in the sense of it was very. Let me back up. It was very character based. It was, you know, and those style of matches to me are entertaining. And look, Matt Sales, Matt, you're still my fourth favorite wrestler. That he's going to hold that title, right? But Dave Stage, gone. Like the Law. The transition in those two, like this, it showed that he's had his personality that for a lot of times we felt like, hey, what is he missing? And as soon as I saw this, I'm like, that was it, and he ain't missing it now. So that's a huge, huge positive. This character gimmick, call it whatever you want to, could be a massive push in the right direction, you know, for Dave Stage. Now, the Law, you know, I was outstanding. Like, I thought it was great.
Another match you said was really great was Rico Gonzalez versus Grayson Pierce, two guys that are no strangers to each other at all, inside and outside the ring.
Right, and here's the thing: like Rico's solid as it gets. Right, like he's their Eastern Seaboard champion. He's been, you know, on a tear since he won that title, defending it over and over, you know, and successfully defending it at that. So I was not surprised about how good Rico is. I wanted to take a second to say I was very, and look, and I said it to him, so it wasn't like it's not an insult. I was very surprised at what I saw out of Grayson Pierce. Like, I did not know he had that in him. And it was the question of, I'm asking, and I don't mean this disrespectful to promoters, is he being handcuffed by, you know, situations that he's put in? Because I had no idea he could wrestle like that. Like, I honestly flat out did not. I had not seen it at other places he was. So it may be time for, you know, look, if there are certain promotions looking for, hey, we looking for an opportunity to help make a star or whatever, Grayson Pierce, just follow him on social media and book him and bring him in. Look, I was, like I said, I was about as pleasant surprised as I could possibly be with somebody, you know, with Grayson Pierce on that card. I hope that footage gets out. That's the footage I would love to get out so more people can see it.
We've mentioned the Eastern Seaboard title, the Disruptor title. Big Ben Bishop, the party animal champion, defended that title successfully over Zicky Dice, who was in the house. And you joined a long line of people who now have a Zicky Dice story.
Yeah, a little bit outlandish as he is. Look, Big Bishop, we're going to discuss him a little more, so we're going to table him for the later part of the show. I think his name's going to come up again. But Zicky Dice was, am I allowed to tell the story on air?
I wasn't asking you to tell the story on air.
So let me look. I'll tell
maybe that's a Patreon.
Let me. I'll summarize the story into it real quick. Apparently there's some backstory, and look, if I shouldn't say this, I apologize, Dickie, but whatever. I know there's some history, I guess, with Nick Aldis and Zicky Dice. So I went up to like, hey man, what's the story with this? I guess there's Heat, and I just wanted to get a quote for the podcast. But apparently he was in a hurry. I don't know if he was going to the beach or something, because he was going clam hunting or something to that effect. So I was like, okay, cool. I said, I appreciate you. I'll catch you at the next show maybe. And he was like, gotcha, and so I parted ways and said, good evening to all the fans that were surrounding the Disruptor. Has some very, what's the word I'm looking for here?
It's not your typical wrestling crowd.
There you go. We get a crowd. Sometimes it's not your typical crowd at that show. So it's we'll run with that. So,
finally, I want to mention on this show, Justin Sane, a friend of the podcast, having his final match against his longtime tag team partner Dexter, and Justin Sane been around Georgia for a long time, and having his last match in a really great environment in front of a really great crowd.
Yeah, look, kudos. I on a personal note, it was awesome. Remind me to tell you a story off the air. I don't want to say this one on the air about but anyway, it was for me to be able to get there. I was worried about the timing, about making the show and things like that. But glad I got to make it. Justin's family at this point. That's but so it's cool to see him. He got to go out in his hometown with his long time tag partner / nemesis there at the end. They kind of had their feud or whatever. So it was kind of cool to see it kind of come full circle and end out on a way. And look, wrestling is what it is, but it is kind of cool to see guys get to go out like their way, their terms. Like the timing doesn't always work out for wrestlers.
Right.
So it was kind of cool to see that moment get to happen with where it was at, with his, the opponent that he got, and that kind of stuff. So kudos and shout out. And now he gets to kind of ride off into the sunset and, get out of the ring and rest that tired body, as they like to say.
Hunter James also on the card. Coyote Tim Miller won a title shot. He will get that October 18th when Disruptor returns to Tannery Row Ale House in Buford. Also Friday night in Franklin, Georgia, you had New Legacy Pro Wrestling. Here's something I was just thinking about as we were talking. So Lev is the champion there at New Legacy Pro. Is this an opportunity? Lev's, just won Rookie of the Year. So very new. Is this an opportunity for him to be the face, the champ of a promotion, and see if he can put it on his back and run with it?
It's a great opportunity because of positioning at other places that he's at. I think, you're going to find out, and it's kind of cool because it's not even, I think this is unique that it's not giving it an opportunity at a place that he's already at, and I'm not saying under, like as far as the ladder, the priorities or whatever.
Right.
So I think, this is an opportunity, like you said, to put hey, I'm the guy. Mm-hmm. Like, can this promotion be grown on my back? And that's, I think, a cool concept. Now, as young as it is that fair? I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Right.
But I'm like, but here's the thing. If he's the best, he's the biggest guy they've got as far as name and whatever, then you're probably making the right choice.
Right. And also, we talked about this a little off air with another opponent Lev had. Can Lev be that guy who can elevate your other talents? You got Xander Warwick going in there getting a title shot. Is Lev somebody that can make Xander Warwick better? You got Aaron Dallas and Ethan Dallas, new tag team coming together to challenge for those tag team titles, where AJ Black and Jaden Bain continue to have kind of a grip on those. But again, New Legacy Pro there in Franklin. They're starting to build some momentum, a couple of shows under their belts. And this is, depending on who you talk to, this is either a really good time or a really bad time to be starting an independent wrestling promotion.
But what's cool about them is I do like the concept of let's go different.
Yes.
It's
yes.
bad time if you're using the same talents everybody else is using, because then you're just another show using the same talents. But if you're using new or different, or, it's like the better than, less than, different than. If you know you're not better than, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, if you're not better than the top promotions right now, we need to be different than, because if we're the same, we're less. So yes, it'd be different than, and I think that's from from having conversations with the people involved there, that's what they're looking to do. Like, let's differentiate ourselves.
I think one thing you've got to do, if you are a promotion that, how do I say this respectfully, where you're not getting the AAA talent, you're getting AA, single A talent, you have to put them in a position to succeed. And you have to understand as a talent, as a worker, what your strengths and weaknesses are, and to go in there and wrestle to your strengths, to wrestle your style in a way that you can improve, but also in a way where, if you're, don't try to go in there and do 20 high spots if that's not what you're capable of doing. Tell a story, take your time, and use it as an opportunity to work in front of a live crowd and get better. But I think too many times we see young talents not know their strengths and weaknesses, and they go in and they try to do too much, or they try to do something that they're really not ready to do live yet.
Yeah, and a lot of them, I think the struggle that happens is you have a lot of younger talents. By the way, I don't even know what my stance would be, because depending on what side of the table I was sitting at. Storytelling at those shows, when you're not getting if you're not bringing in a guy who's working nationally, right? He's a local guy, and and again, like, let's say he's AA, whatever.
Yeah.
Storytelling's the key. Now, I think storytelling's the key everywhere, but that's not what some promotions focus on. But storytelling in general is what matters. But at the same time, when the promoters or the booker, the creator, whatever you want to call him, they're kind of laying it out for you. Recently this happened where I felt like it's up to a talent, and I don't know, are the trainers telling them this? Like, hey, I'm not good at that, or that's not what, if you've been babyface, and I understand taking an opportunity to be a heel at a new place, but if you're just really not good at it, like, is it at a new promotion, like your first time at a promotion, like you can say, like, hey, I don't, like, maybe that's conversations happening when they're booking you. Hey, we want to book you and bring you in. Am I a babyface, or do you want me as a babyface or heel? You're heel. Okay, well, I'm not real good at that. I'm not really sure that's my best. I'll take the booking, but don't judge me on that, because I'm going to be basically practicing it while I'm there. Like, I'm going to be,
right.
And I just think sometimes people show up and then they do their thing and then they don't get booked again. Yes. But anyway, I don't know how we sidebarred on that tangent, but yeah.
Listen, sometimes this whole show is a sidebar, but that's good. So New Legacy Pro, check them out on Facebook. Follow them as they try to grow their following there in Franklin, Georgia. Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling Friday night was in Monroe, Georgia. Want to send a shout out to Mike Cunningham. You and I got to talk to Mike at the Tannery Rose show. Really nice guy from Arizona, and this was his debut weekend. He kind of had his his spotlight show at the Nightmare Factory, and then he and Michael Solar got a victory over Elijah Drago and friend of the show, Jack Jameson.
So I guess he's lucky I didn't come. I was actually planning on coming out to that show to, we'll address that in the future. But if I had been there, he took another L and he didn't pick up another. I thought I was going to go out there and try to see him pick up a win. Well, apparently that wasn't going to happen. So, congratulations, Michael Solar. Let's put it that way. And Mike Cunningham. and keep taking them L's, baby. Keep taking them L's.
This was a fun-filled card, including Brady Booker winning a battle royal and earning the opportunity to take on.
Hold on. I'm gonna hit a pause button. I was gonna go past this. I don't think so. I know you and I haven't had this conversation yet. Did you see the video that the guy sent out?
I did see the video, and wasn't sure how you wanted to address it on the show.
Here's how we're gonna address it. So he wants, like, look, guys, I am not. We don't kid ourselves. Like, we are not wrestlers. Like, I've never claimed to be. Those guys are they're super talented. They're super athletic. On and on. Like, I, without a doubt, can say look, I had multiple conversations over the weekends with friends, with family, and like, hey, I know I popped off on the other show. And I was like, I think I'm going to do it. That was a knee-jerk reaction. That's hearing the video, reacting. But I was like, hey, man, look, I'm not kidding. I'm not a wrestler. Wait, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? But then there's another part of you that's like, let's just end this thing. Let's do this.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten out of hand, and but at some point you're right. It has to come to some sort of conclusion, one way or the other.
So for the record, I accept. I accept. I didn't want to have a knee-jerk reaction again. He said I could have any stipulation I wanted. So I'm going to take probably this week, next, I'll announce what that stipulation will be. But as of now, it's looking like, look, and I don't want to speak out of turn. Like, I know he challenged me October 4th there at Tannery Road, Buford, Georgia. If all of the documents are signed and everything, and everybody agrees and management agrees, that's where we look. We're going to end this thing in my hometown in Buford, Georgia, Tannery Row, October 4th. I think does that seem fitting to you? Because listen, whether he gets his hands on me and he puts it, whatever, I'm just ready to get this past us. That's never what this podcast is about. Let's just put it behind us and just get it over with.
We just want to talk about Jack Jameson, the wrestler. We want to talk about his appearances on various nationally televised wrestling shows.
Well, we'd love to talk about wins.
Yes.
But he's got to give us some more of those. He's got to give us some more of those to talk about. And here's the thing. If he has more to... Okay, here's the problem. Jack Jameson, here's a statement for you. If you beat me in a match October 4th at Tannery Row, you're supposed to beat me.
Yeah.
You have absolutely put yourself in a corner. You have nothing to gain and everything to lose. Because if you beat me, you're supposed to be. I'm just an old, out-of-shape podcaster. But if I beat you, Lord have mercy on you, that you will probably never hear the end of this from everybody. So think about that. Now let's move on with the rest of the segments.
One way or another, when that match is over, Jack Jameson, win, lose, or draw, are you going to be man enough to shake Nick's hand? That's the question. I think that's what the people want to see. Yeah. So fans, circle that one on your calendars. Like I would say, Brady Booker, one of our favorite wrestlers, won a battle royal to earn a match against Aaron Solo, who's just a talented wrestler. And Brady Booker actually got a win over Aaron Solo. And again, Turnbuckle is everywhere. We're going to talk about them a little more later in the show. But you never know. You never know who you're going to see. You never know what you're going to see. Turnbuckle has become a very unpredictable promotion here in Georgia.
Yep.
Forever Pro Wrestling was also Friday night. Kevin Ryan and Matt Griffin going back and forth really since the inception of Forever Pro Wrestling earlier this year. And finally, Kevin Ryan got his hands a little bit on Matt Griffin. It ended up in a six-man main event. Chris Crunk, Kevin Ryan, and Carly Bravo versus Teriyaki Jose Manuel and Shooter Gabe, who had Matt Griffin in their corner. Matt Griffin is just everywhere.
We talked about this a little bit on the other show last week, where we're like, look, Matt Griffin just has his fingers, like his sticky fingers. I mean, he's at Southern Honor, he's a Forever Pro. Of course, he's he's over at Action running it and all that. I'm like, dude, can he just? And he's going to explain his actions. He's going to explain his actions at this promotion. Like, dude, how about like the actions not need to be explained? Maybe if you're constantly explaining your behavior, maybe the behavior is the issue, right? Not how people see it.
Right.
But so now look, Kevin Ryan trying to do his best. He's running a great promotion up there in Calhoun. By the way, they're crossing the border into Tennessee and stuff as well. Mm-hmm. And Matt Griffin, just going to go up there and get involved, because that's Matt Griffin doing Matt Griffin stuff. Like, no matter where he goes, he's got to get involved and, try to just create chaos, it seems like.
Yeah, Forever Pro has done a really good job of giving some young guys opportunities, but it's also a place where you can see matches. They had Joe Black defeating Shug D by count out. They've had some great matches like that. Jamison Shook defeated Kenway in a match. Like you just said, Forever Pro, they're going to be in Chattanooga.
Dude, can you imagine? Hold on.
Yeah.
They had Alex Kane versus Carly Bravo earlier in the night. Carly Bravo's the big surprise, just to show up and have a match. And by the way, not only is he doing the wrestling Alex Kane, but then he ends up in the main event as well. I don't know, because that's what Carly Bravo does. He wrestles in main events. I mean,
yes. Sorry, I had that underline and somehow still missed it. Carly Bravo also going to be mentioned a little later in the show. So make sure you're following Forever Pro Wrestling. They are definitely expanding, and they're also looking. They'll be back in Calhoun on October the 18th and hoping to get in a monthly rotation there in Calhoun. SCA was in Royston, as they are every single week there at the Royston Dome. You had Xander Seabolt, who got a title opportunity versus Tower. Jonathan Feltner came out, had banned Rick Page from ringside. Rick Page somehow gets out there, causes a disqualification, and now the match has been made in a couple of weeks. Rick Page is going to be in a cage.
Page in a cage. That is correct.
As Tower defends that title. I'm sure Myron was at this show. I'm sure he'll have a more in-depth report. But Xander Seabolt taking on Tower. What an opportunity for that young man. Tower is been a veteran, been around for a long time, and is just literally, there's a reason that they call him Tower.
Oh, he's a monster of a man. That is true. He's a big, big dude.
Jaden Vane also came out, attacked Luke Da Silva again. So again, if you are in the Royston area, SCA, every Friday night, you can check them out. And they've got their big show, big Halloween show, Fighter Web, coming up in 2 weeks. So check them out. Moving on to Saturday. Southern Fried Championship Wrestling was back in Monroe, Georgia. Lots happening. You and Myron were there. Kind of the highlight of the night, or one of the highlights, was Todd and, why can I not think? I'm losing. My brain's going crazy. You had Todd taking on Anthony Henry in a singles match. Anthony Henry, I don't know. Had he ever been at Southern Fried before?
Not since we've been doing the podcast. I don't remember him being there in the 8 years. Look, there's a lot of history there with Todd and with Anthony Henry kind of starting, 20 years ago. basically, with Anthony Henry getting started, and Todd saw something in him. So he was there doing the seminar prior to the show, and then of course they had their match, which was a clinic. I mean, you kind of knew. It was funny. Like it's one of those matches. Like I knew what I was getting out of that match when it was announced, and it still didn't disappoint. I mean, they went out there it was one of those hold for hold, submission for submission, back and forth. One of those matches, and it was absolutely like I wanted to say, like, okay, that probably should have been the seminar. Like, did you guys wrestle this match at the seminar? Because that was the seminar. It was like, guys, if you paid to go to the seminar and listen to them talk, you probably should have been sitting in the crowd or through the curtain or out the window or something and watching that match, because that was part 2 of the actual seminar.
After the match, Nick Calhoun and Bobby Moore, the approved, came out and attacked Todd. They've earned a tag team championship match at Crossroads on October 18th to take on Judas and Todd Sexton for those tag team titles. The approved trying to get those tag team titles.
Yeah, it's a little messy, man. It's a little messy there with they did it was the triple threat, for that number 1 contender. Listen, Bobby Moore and Nick Calhoun they've been around for a long time. They know all the tricks of the trade, and they use every single one of them to obviously try to pick up wins, and they're still doing that. And to set up the long-running feud of the approved versus Todd Sexton and Judas, we need to get in there. Story of the night, though, is it started to see there was a little bit of ripples of tension between Happy Madness for a change. Sal, took the pin. He was angry at himself. You could see it. He's just angry with himself. Yeah, Sunny Days trying to hey, it's okay, kind of like trying to look, it happens, it's whatever. Sal's just kind of had the reaction. So I'm kind of concerned of seeing any kind of tensions there or anything. So hopefully those things will just kind of iron themselves out for sure. But
we're also at Crossroads going to get the third and deciding match between Billy Buck and Nagisis, and Billy Buck won Saturday night to set up this third match with Bill Behrens as the special referee, as these two guys go head-to-head for that Classics title. And we're going to see who the best wrestler is between these two.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's they've delivered match 1 and 2, 1 apiece. Kind of, you figure that's what you're hoping, what you get. So you get 3 good matches out of them. And I'm not shocked with both of these guys. With Billy Buck, again, another veteran of the game, Nagicism, right there at the top of his game right now. But look, it's not the only title match it's another. I mean, look, Crossroads is and whether people think so or not, I always debate WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, what's my favorite or whatever. So Shindig and Crossroads are kind of the 1A, 1B show for Southern Fried. So Crossroads is becoming a pretty stacked card along the path to it. And of course we've got the big one that's going to probably obviously be your main event there.
Yeah, CT Keys will be defending against Jeter, who interfered, causing a disqualification as CT was defending against Hunter James. And CT Keys with a huge challenge, literally and figuratively, as Jeter's coming for that Southern Fried title.
And Jeter, it's scary. I mean, he came to the ring, and a lot of guys they run, they hit the ring, boom, boom, boom. Nope, Hunter James and CT Keys are having a battle. They're both they're just laying there, they're exhausted or whatever. Jeter's like a shark. He literally strolls over to the announcer table, takes his hat off, sets it down, takes his glasses off. You know what I mean? It's like this dude is circling, he is literally circling the prey. And literally gets in that ring and it was a sight to behold to see somebody just snatch CT Keys around and then pick him up and then, that tombstone pile driver type of thing. And I mean, it was just left him laying. And what's more disturbing about Jeter is it's not just physical. It's a lot of it's mental.
Yes.
Literally picked up. He's sitting in the ring, picked up CT Keys' head like a child, and has it on his leg and is like, you made me do this to you. This is literally the vibes of a parent telling their child, I didn't want to do this. you made me do this. And it's just that's the thing that's scary more than just jumping in there and just beating somebody. When you start going mind games, that's when stuff really can get really, really out there for wrestling.
Yes. October 18th, it is Crossroads. There at 504 Community Court in Monroe, Georgia. Go check out Southern Fried Championship Wrestling. IWE was back in Augusta with a huge show, the program. Before we get to this main event, all year it's been Hierarchy versus Blackman versus IWE versus All Star Special. You had Rob Killjoy and Billy Brash both answer heavyweight champion White Mike's open challenge. Great match. Hierarchy makes their presence known. They jump Killjoy. In the confusion and the chaos, Billy Brash seemingly wins the title, and then the decision is reversed. And so now, November 23rd, Kings of Controversy, it's going to be White Mike defending against Billy Brash one-on-one. So the Hierarchy making themselves known. You had Danny J winning her match. You had Danny Jordan winning her match. Emily J earning a title shot against Danny Jordan for that IWE Women's title again in November. But the big main event, this was a loaded card. 8 matches, I think. Loaded card. But the main event, tag team titles on the line within a 6-man match. The Hierarchy, Joe Black, Murder One, Kenway versus All Star Special, William Huckabee, Hold My Beer Hansen, and Jay Too Strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
This one got crazy, went everywhere. You and I, go check it out on Patreon fans. We talked about the possibility of Huck retiring. His career was on the line, Nick, but somehow All Star Special pulled out the victory. We talked for 40 minutes about the possibility of Huck retiring. How'd you feel when you got that message that they had won this match Saturday night?
Good. Good for them. Look, it's it was the cards were stacked against them. Everything is there to prevent them from, allowing this to happen. So obviously the obvious assumption was, hey, look, as much as we love the All-Star Special and what we think of them as a team, look, when the deck gets so stacked against you, sometimes you just can't overcome it. So yeah, we were all phased in, getting to the phase in our brain where we're kind of like, we're possibly going to lose Will Huckabee out of wrestling. So of course, when we find out we're not, absolutely we're happy, right? It's awesome. They absolutely overcome every obstacle put in front of them and absolutely delivered when they needed to keep Will Huckabee, in wrestling, at IWE specifically. And kudos to them. It showed, is this the first chink in the armor of the Hierarchy there in IWE? So much so that things have imploded to where we go from here. I think that's kind of the coming out of that. I think that's the lesson to be learned. The All-Star Special prove the Hierarchy's not invulnerable there in IWE.
Tim Blackman has challenged Kitchens to a second War Games match in January. I don't really understand why Kitchens accepted that challenge, maybe just to kind of put a nail in the coffin once and for all. But they announced that on November 23rd, the teams for War Games will be announced as Blackman will pick Team IWE and Kitchens will pick Team Hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to throw out who I think originally in January it was supposed to be 6-on-6, turned into 5-on-5. You and I have talked about through the year, we know who the main 3 Hierarchy are: Kenway, Joe Black, Murder One. I'd also throw Skrilla in there. That's who I think Team Hierarchy is going to be: Murder One, Joe Black, Kenway, and Skrilla. And I think based on what we saw Saturday night, you're going to see Huck, Hanson, Jay, and I think Rob Killjoy is going to want a piece of the hierarchy after what they did to him Saturday night. So that's my pick. They may add another one, another wrestler each, but I think that's the
I
main
think
four for
we
each
get
side.
Shug D. Shug D's the other member down there in IWE, so he'd be your 5. And I have a suspicion for 5 for Tim's team. I just don't know what his status is there, but I think he is the one. Like, he has to be the guy, right?
Well, I totally agree with you. I know exactly who you're talking about. I don't think, I mean, Shug D, I know, was at their March show. I don't know that if he's been back since then. And the guy you're talking about wasn't at their July show.
So, look, this show's 2 months away.
Yeah.
So we got plenty of time. And I think as we get closer, we'll do some more digging and find out the status of Shug D and then this other person that we're talking about. And if they're still involved, I think that's easily your 5th members on both teams. It just makes the most sense. Yeah. So.
Yes. So again, November 23rd, back there at the American Legion in Augusta, it is Kings of Controversy. Again, the big women's title match, Danny Jordan versus Emily J. Billy Brash challenging for the heavyweight title, looking to become a 2-time IWE heavyweight champion. And then the picking of the War Games teams, you don't want to miss it. That's one I got circled on my calendar. Maybe taking a trip to Augusta that weekend, making a weekend out of it. Also Saturday in Commerce, Georgia, Nerd U, one of the new promotions that's popped up this year. Their big match, Terry Lawler taking on Chris Nelms, defending that Georgia heavyweight championship. And Terry Lawler able to retain in a match that became a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Look, a shock, right? Terry Lawler's defending that Georgia heavyweight championship somewhere. That we're seeing it everywhere all over the state. Promotions, he's just going and taking that title and putting it on the line. And look, Nelms and Lawler go back a long time. This thing has been one of those, brothers fight. Sometimes brothers fight. That just happens.
Right.
Sometimes they team up, and help each other out. So, but there's a lot of history, absolutely, between Terry Lawler and Chris Nelms. And, that title is a part of that mix.
Yes. Also want to send a shout out to Christian Taylor, who won the Lord of the Ring match, which gets him an opportunity at the Nerd U Heavyweight Championship anytime. So Christian Taylor with a couple of big matches here over the weekend, but earning a big title shot, and that's a big feather in his cap. So make sure you check them out on Facebook, Nerd U. They're there in Commerce. And again, doing some fun things. A big show we want to bring some attention to. Sunday in Winder, Georgia, we had the Battle for Barrow. We had Barrow. The
You're
high
right
school,
the first time. Barrow County.
Barrow.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce all these Georgia towns. I apologize. You had the school shooting several weeks ago, a little over a month ago. And this was a fundraising show, various promotions coming together, various people to raise money, to show some support, kind of centered around Hunter James, who's a graduate there. And you got to go out to this show, kind of talk about the vibe and then the feeling you got of bringing this community together for this wrestling show.
It was really cool, man. Like, wrestling can do that. It can, bring everybody together. So there were lots of people that, like, there were people that involved with the Appalachia High School. They were, as far as, like, it looked like teachers, admin, student, but it was just cool. Like, because, take for a lot of the negative wrestling gets, it's cool to see, like, something positive. And I could rattle off the guys on the card that I was, really impressed with, that I liked. The matches were cool and all that kind of stuff. But that's not really what this show's about, right? This show was about, hey, let's raise some money for some people. Let's have some fun. Let's try to, I always tell people, like, for charity events, something like this, hey, let's take a couple hours out of our day and let's just try to have some fun and entertain, and put all of the stuff that's going on in the world, just put it away for a couple hours. I promise you, it's going to be there when you're done, and it'll still be
right.
there.
That's right.
So how about for a couple hours, let's have some fun. And that's kind of what this show was. It was super entertaining. They played to the crowd that was at hand. Again, Hunter James Center focused. He's the guy. He's the graduate, from that school. So that's kind of why. But look, I mean, obviously, like CB Suave, Jacob Ashworth, some other. It was cool too, by the way, to see other people like in wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Like that were there supporting the cause. There were other promoters, there were other wrestlers and stuff like that were just kind of there. But again, this isn't about that. Like this was just kind of a cool thing to try to do something. Just kind of, like I said, even if nothing for a couple hours, let's put it out of sight, out of mind for a minute, and we'll have some fun while we're here.
The match that you said stole the show was the two guys we've already talked about today. CB Suave taking on Christian Taylor. Talk about this match for a little bit.
Look, Christian Taylor keeps coming up, right? Young kid, working hard, he's out there grinding. He was a guy that he was like, I had, look, this is stuff that like, it's one of those like, hey, do we talk about it like this or not? But I can't help but say, like, when I was talking to him, he leans over at me and he says, I had 3 great learning experiences this weekend. And I was like, oh, he goes, well, matches, but he looks at every match as a learning experience because he knows I've got a lot to learn. And like he got a master class, as he put, from CB Suave in there. You would not have known when those two were going at it. I mean, you would not have known the situations with like experience, versus with one versus the other.
Right.
So kudos goes out to both talents. This is when things like this happen. I always try to say, look, one's leading the dance, but the other one's following the dance. Like it's yes, one guy you might want to slide, like it's 51, 49, 60, whatever those numbers might be. Kudos to CB Suave for being a teacher in the ring and pulling it off and having a great match. But tip your cap to Christian Taylor for, like if you didn't know the things that we knew, nobody in that crowd would have known any different probably.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, kudos to both of them. And that was the match that I walked away going like, wow. I mean, that was a show stealer for me.
Yeah. Christian Taylor is not quite putting together a resume. He's getting his education right now.
Yeah. And
he's putting that together. And it was fascinating talking with him, getting his kind of views of what he's trying to accomplish. And he's somebody we're definitely pulling for. So kudos to everybody who worked that show, put it together, just to do a good thing, good cause, and raise some money for these families. And hopefully we'll see some more of that in the future. Let's move on to who won the week. And as we talked about this, you threw out a name. It was something that happened inside of Georgia, something happened outside of Georgia. It was Big Ben Bishop. We mentioned at Disruptor, he successfully defended the Party Animal Championship. And then the following night, Springfield, Illinois, teaming with Jeff Jarrett at a baseball game. And in a way that only he could be, Big Ben Bishop went that extra mile and got the matching gear with Jeff Jarrett.
Well, the hilarious part is, he's in the old school Chippendales gimmick, and Jeff's in his current, like, I'm in the shorts.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, but he's got the guitar, he's got the hat. Does anybody embrace the entertainment part of wrestling, as much as Big Bishop does? Like, hey, he gets it. He's like, I can go in there, I can work, I can wrestle. He's agile, he's strong, he's massive, he's huge. I mean, obviously, but he gets it. He gets it to the entertainment aspect of it, which is kind of like cool that a guy, that gets it. But then to embrace the video, the social media side of it. So if you have not seen it, give Big Ben Bishop a follow on all platforms. He's sharing these reels and this stuff, whatever, and go back and see. And just to see him in the get up, the old Double J, then hitting the stroke, and then they got the strut. Like, dude, kudos. And that hands down was why I'm like, it's who won the week? It ain't even close. It's Big Ben Bishop.
Yeah. And he and Jeff Jarrett teamed together against the Heat Seekers. And shout out to the Heat Seekers, former Carolina Professional Wrestling Awards Tag Team of the Year in the Carolinas. And I asked you, why aren't they getting booked in Georgia? They're wrestling a lot, especially in South Carolina. But I'd love to see the Heat Seekers. They would definitely add some depth to somebody's tag team division pretty quick here in Georgia. Let's close out something we haven't done here in a little while, and that is let's look at the Power Five. And you and I were talking about this. Some of this was a no-brainer. Now, these are not in any particular order. We're not saying these are the best. We're saying these are the movers and shakers this week. These are the movers and shakers in Georgia. Starting out with a guy who put out a challenge and then very quickly was putting his money where his mouth was. That's Carly Bravo. Carly Bravo made that post on Facebook and said, all right, let's see who you got. Yep. Let's make this happen. And not just singles, but also tag team. And it's clear Carly Bravo is trying to give back to independent wrestling in Georgia.
Yeah, look, I had a conversation with him, and we talked a little bit about this, and it's like, look, he appreciates where he came from in Georgia indie wrestling, and to get where he's at now. And if he's got the opportunity, he's going to give some other guys some opportunities to, see, we always talk about measuring sticks in Georgia. Well, this is a heck of a measuring stick to find out with a guy that's, wrestling on television, so yeah. And then him just to, put it out there and say like, hey, if I'm free, I'm going to just show up and, give me your best, like type of thing. And then, like you said, a couple days later, bam, he's at Forever Pro wrestling Alex Kane. But then Sean Dean, by the way, kudos to his partner for stepping up and saying, hey, if you're doing this and I'm free, well, the infantry will roll in and let's see where the tag teams stand too. That's a very unique opportunity that I think a lot of promotions need to look into and hit these guys up and say, because like we always talk about just a random, differentiating your card. Here's an opportunity. 1,000% Carly Bravo is on this list.
Yes. So bring bad news and tattoos to your show. Bullpen Championship Wrestling. They continue to just rock and roll, drawing big crowds, whether it's in Georgia or right across the line in Alabama. They're also bringing people in. You got Zach Buchanan. They're giving guys opportunities, young guys, bringing in veterans. But they're definitely doing something right because they continue to draw huge crowds and make an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't put them over enough. They are doing an absolute killer job down there, and the stories are starting to roll. So I think that's even better for them in the long term.
Yes. Matt Griffin, somebody who is getting around. He continues to man the ship there at Action Wrestling. He continues to have an impact there at Southern Honor. He's at Forever Pro. He literally is everywhere. And Matt Griffin is somebody good to know if you're a wrestler in Georgia. The IWTV connections. Just, again, he's got his fingers in the pie all over the Southeast.
Yeah, and I think that's it. He's so involved everywhere. That's why he's one of the people on this list, because it's not just as simple as like, oh, he runs Action so you can,
right.
It's like he's got connections everywhere, by the way, not just locally, not Georgia, like nationally as well, that he can help spread, give you opportunities nationwide. That's kind of why he's on the list.
I would definitely say Matt Griffin has never been focused on Georgia. And that's why it's a good relationship to have, because he can get you across state lines pretty easily. These two, put in together. Southern Honor, Southern Fried Championship Wrestling, both kind of had, I don't know that I'd call it a hiatus during the summer, but took some time off. But both have come back, hitting their stride, just doing what they do. They're I don't want to say autopilot. I don't mean it as an insult, but they are just consistent. They're great. You know what you're going to get. And they're both ramping up. Southern Honor's ramping up to Still Here 6. Southern Fried ramping up to Crossroads. And those are going to be two big shows coming in the month of October.
Yeah, we said it with Southern Honor. Hey, coming out of Rumblejack, it was, they get on a roll. They're back on this list pretty easy. Happens. They deliver. They're right there where they belong. Southern Fried, kind of the same thing. That, look, Todd's telling stories constantly, and that's what their strength is. And Crossroads, like I said, is my 1B show of the year under Shindig. And we've already seen the card shaping up. So that's kind of why they are, they're consistently right there at the top.
It's going to be an interesting month. Then, speaking of an interesting month, Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, our final member of this week's Power 5, they are going to run more shows in a month than some promotions run in a year. I will say it. Turnbuckle, to me, in the year 2024 has changed the landscape of Georgia wrestling because they have run their shows, they've run their promotion in a way that nobody else is doing it. And they've come in and they've kind of set a standard. And they've also said, I mean, they haven't said it, whatever, but they basically raised the bar of what can and can't be done by a wrestling promotion in Georgia.
The talents, opportunities that they have, the amount of shows that they run. Here's why I also put them, when we talked about like what makes them a thing. They're showcasing a lot of people that, like, other promotions, you should be looking over there. You're always looking about, hey, well, what's the next good crop of kids, coming up or whatever. I don't know. How about watching a couple of their shows? Because think about it. We did that, and we were immediately, like, turned on to a whole new crop of talent. They were like, oh, well, what about this guy? What about this guy? What about this guy? Like, hey, it's, if you're out there scouting and people are like, well, I just don't have time to scout. Well, just watch some of their shows, man. It's that simple. Because, a lot of these older guys, they want too much. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, well, these guys they're young. I mean, and they're talented. They're young. They're probably affordable, what you're looking at or whatever. So hit them up. That's just, that's why I think they belong on this list, is not just because of what they do on the show, but the talents that they're actually putting out there, so that's kind of my thing.
And for the most part, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, they tell their students, these Nightmare kids, hey, if you get a booking at another show, we want you to, like, that's the whole point. The whole point is not for you to stay at Turnbuckle. The point is for you to go other places.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not, I think one of the issues with Georgia wrestling, and maybe everywhere, is you have people booking wrestling in Georgia that don't watch any other wrestling. They don't know what any other promotion is doing. They don't know this person, that person. They don't know these new upcoming talents. They just kind of get in a rut. They kind of have their crew, and they don't expand beyond that. And the promotion that comes in and is able to blend the kind of wrestling fans want in Georgia with the new talents, the tried and true talents, that's who's going to win the day. And right now, Turnbuckle is just doing it, again, in a way no one else has done it in a long time.
Yep.
So with them running that many shows, we'll have to get at least to a couple of them. Make sure you're there October 4th for their show at Tannery Row Ale House.
I'll be there.
Jack Jameson and Nick McDaniel, and who knows what else is going to happen. Fans, thank you so much for your support of the show. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, you can become a member at patreon.com/tappedoutpod. There's so many levels you can join at, and there's lots of benefits no matter what level you join at. You can also go to tappedoutpod.com. That takes you right to our YouTube page, where you can also become a member. But don't forget to subscribe to the page, hit that like button, hit the bell to get all the notifications. Nick, any heads up about what you and Myron are going to be discussing this week?
I mean, look, there's, at this point, there's things that are changing so much. I mean, literally, as of last night, Braun Breaker's, title reign 51 days, and Jey Uso is the new guy. I think there's probably going to be some talk. I don't know if you saw that epic video that they did on Smackdown.
Oh, my goodness.
With Cody and Roman. I think there's lots of layers to all of what's going on, so I'm sure we'll dive into some of that. But, we don't completely dive into, booking so per se as much as the business stuff of it, and like the AEW deal's got some more wrinkles I'm sure going to come out over the next day or so. And I'm hoping, here's the problem. We were going to record tomorrow, and I'm hoping they announce it at Grand Slam. That's what I was hoping. Is that a stage that you kind of make that type of announcement at? So we'll see. But hey, always check us out, because we'll come up with something.
Yeah, I'm sure if that announcement is going to be made, Tony Khan will make an announcement that there will be an announcement. The only announcement you need to know, fans, is we are here every week. You need to watch us. You need to support us, and leave a comment. Send us an email, tapthatpod@gmail.com. But more than anything, get out and support independent wrestling, and hopefully Nick and I will see you at the matches.